ImmuniTEA? The stakes are high, the alliances are forming, and the tea is brewing. Brace yourselves for blindsides, epic challenges, and the ultimate Survivor showdown.
Hey everybody, welcome. How is everybody today? Brandon and Alex are here with me. Alex, I'm going to start with you this morning. You're supposed to say, nah.
No. Survivor 47, episode 5. Shocker. Blindside. Drama. Here, we're getting started. We're getting going. I don't know. I thought the episode was okay. I mean, the ending was really, really good. I think up into the ending, I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of on my phone a little bit. But no, I thought it was really good. Love the ending. I think we called it last week. We said Annika was going to be the one to boot. And we got another giant Andy fail, which you can't have an episode of season 47 without a giant epic Andy fail.
I know.
So
I was going to take a moment, like before I got started, to like brush my hair, kind of.
Yeah, and I was going to eat these pecans.
We are so bad at humor. I can't be Brandon Foster.
You got to explain that one to me, Brandon. Eating pecan? What's that?
That was him using his little sword as his saw and using the wrong side.
Oh, okay.
And so Bree was doing. See, now that I have to explain this.
Yeah, explain. It doesn't really work. You explain it. Your other one was a little bit more like I'm kind of slow, so you got to do like the face paint or the the fart joke. Right, that's more my speed. Right?
No, this is me eating pecans as if I was Andy. So I'll try next week.
Gotcha.
I'll try next week.
Next week, yeah. Last week, if you didn't watch last week's episode, I'm still dying on that one. That was really funny.
Pecans on my pants all over the place.
I was gonna say, now you got to clean all that up. I just decided to use my hairbrush. I
love these things. I just wrote a terrible joke, and now I have no lunch.
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah.
Bring us into this episode. Save us from our jokes.
Well, we started off with Genevieve, right? I'm just like so impressed with Genevieve. Not because she was
You're just so happy she's back on screen.
Yeah, right. Now she's like, so they go back and Teeny gets completely blindsided. Rome steals Keyshawn's vote. They vote off Keyshawn. Saul goes with them, and then Teeny goes back to camp, and she's like, my game is screwed. What the heck am I going to do? How did this happen? Not only is her number one voted off, but she was left out of the vote. They go back and Rome even confronts her and is like, hey, did you know about this? And so their relationship isn't very good. And then Genevieve kind of mends the relationship. She plays it perfectly. I mean, it was entirely her idea, but Teeny thinks it was entirely Rome. And Rome is like, yeah, it was, Rome loves it. He's like, yeah, it was my idea. And taking total credit. Even though it was 100% Genevieve. So Genevieve just such a good player. And then in the morning, they go to the challenge, right? And Teeny, they have this new Survivor twist. I don't know how much of a twist. I kind of liked it actually, though. So they do the challenge. They divide the two teams, and Teeny is the only one on the winning tribe who goes off to the sanctuary where good things happen. And
I want the shirt.
Yeah, and so Rome is talking to Saul and throws Genevieve completely under the bus, which again is just this Rome gameplay of like, there's not a lot of, I don't know, like how can he not think that's going to come back to Genevieve? And then Saul buys everything hook, line, and sinker from Rome, who's betrayed him a million times, and he's like so despondent. Genevieve, I heard you want to throw me under the bus. And she's like, what are you talking about? I mean, she plays it off perfectly. And I loved her thing. I said it. I know I said it. He, she, me knows I said it. But I don't want Saul to know that. And then I was thinking, okay, I think that Genevieve and Teeny and Saul, they're going to vibe. Because they're all kind of cerebral a little bit. And they're kind of low key. And they kind of, Saul's, like I said, a little bit too emotional. I don't know. He was kind of mentioning that, like, I have all this years of sales experience, but I'm getting played like a loser out here by everybody. Everybody is tricking me. How is this happening? So,
I mean, being aware that it's really not going your way and maybe finding a way through that. I mean, I look at the difference between Saul and Rome, right? Rome thinks he's doing all of these amazing things, and he's doing a little bit of it, but come on, right? So he is like so caught up in what he thinks is happening, and Saul is looking at it like, man, am I screwing up, and like I'm making mistakes and I'm getting played, and I don't like. He is aware that stuff is happening and he's got to make changes. So who's the better player? I think Saul comes out of this better than Rome does. Brandon, you're shaking your head no.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I first want to go with what Brennan said, and that was kind of what we're alluding to as well. Is like Guinevere's playing chess, and Brennan said that Rome's playing checkers. I think he's playing like 52 card pickup. Like that's what he's playing right now, because he's having to, as Guinevere said, how he was talking to people was as if you lost an immunity challenge and not just a regular challenge for things. And so I agree with the point that with Saul, with a player like Rome, you don't need to play a game. Just kind of react to whatever crazy Rome is doing. And as long as you're doing that mindfully and not making mistakes because you're listening to all of his crazy, you're going to be fine. What it doesn't give you the opportunity to do is have much of a story, because Rome is hijacking any and every story anybody else could possibly have, except Guinevere, who's kind of has this knowledge of who kind of everybody is better than anybody else in that tribe. Even Teeny, I was amazed that she's even doing better with the personas than Teeny is.
Well, Teeny, interesting gameplay. So feels like she's on the out. And I don't know why Tiana and Teeny had this, they go to the sanctuary. So the two tribes compete. One tribe wins. They go to the sanctuary, and there's this opportunity for these, for this cross-tribe pollination and for them to kind of share information and tell stories. And Teeny just comes out, lays it all on the table, tells them every single thing that happened, pretty much. Same thing with Tiana about Gabe, and that we'll talk about that. But just like, that's not good judgment on Teeny's part. You don't have to do that. Why intentionally? I mean, is there an advantage of putting yourself on the bottom? Maybe yes and no. You're an easy out, right? We're going to come to merge and people are going to want to save themselves. And if Teeny's on the bottom, well, then they know, well, maybe we should combine with Genevieve, and we need numbers, and we can get Genevieve and Saul and these other people to get Teeny out, because she's obviously a threat, right? She's not like somebody who you want to kind of keep. She's somebody that you probably want to get out. So that was suspect of like, why did Teeny? And then she goes back, and then like she could use her logic too of like, well, there actually is an opportunity with me. And now that I'm weaker, I'm more appealing to people like Genevieve. I'm more appealing to maybe working with Saul. But she was just so frantic. And so I thought that was kind of a lack of judgment on her part to go out there and just tell all, like, not even just a couple of people, everybody.
Yeah. So the difference I see here, because I think they both are very smart players, and now is when you're seeing the maturity level, the difference there. I think that's what we're noticing. Why is Teeny fumbling all of a sudden and Genevieve is like coming on strong? And I think Teeny has the right plans and can do the right things, but I don't think she has the maturity level right now to accept when somebody doesn't go her way and still make it into something good for her. But I do think it's strong that she went with Carolyn and Rachel. I think those three together, when they were all hanging out at the sanctuary, and that was a good thing that happened for Teeny there. So,
and I think with that too, what a great position to kind of be in a hole like Teeny is right now, because we're about to hit a merge. Their tribe really needed to win that for her to be safe. I think that she could have been going home, depending on Rome. Would he have found an idol? Would he have whatever he would have done? But it's a great place to kind of be at the bottom anyways, in lieu of a merge, because you are more I think not trustworthy, but those other players see you as a person that would be willing to actually join them, because you don't have the super alliance going into it, like a Sierra and a Sam kind of do right now. It's not a super alliance by any means, but it is a pretty strong twosome there.
Yeah. Well, Teeny also has the amulet, right? And so they talked about that. They get Teeny off. Well, then they get that amulet that she has, and that's definitely an incentive for them. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. And yeah, just I thought it was interesting too. So Tiana, I guess we go into this since we're talking about kind of the sanctuary. Tiana, Sue is obviously Gabe's number one. I don't know how people don't see that. I mean, do they think that it's her and Caroline? Do you think Gabe's just out there by himself and doesn't have any alliance? And just right out there in front of everybody is not even subtly doing it, just not even saying one thing, but just totally throwing her. So it's just really bad gameplay by her. And like I said, why do they have to do it in that huge group setting? They could have done it individually, one-on-one, and still transmitted all the information, right, to all the people and remained undercover with her own tribe.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake for her. Like you just don't do that. It never fares well for you to be the person that's just literally throwing. The first thing I said when I saw that happening is, oh my gosh, she's throwing Gabe under the bus. And then Sue, 5 seconds later, says she threw him under the bus. And you know, I don't think it's going to go. I think it's going to make her marked and keeping her out. I think that puts her in a very precarious position. I don't think it was smart.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, because you have a couple seasons ago where Gabler kind of threw what's her name under the bus. Like said, no, we're going for her. I don't care who you are. This is the target. We're going for it. And not that it's the same exact kind of story, but Gabler didn't end up winning that season. So I think that it's not necessarily I wouldn't risk that. I wouldn't be that proactive. I think what she did was mess up with apologizing and even lying even more to Gabe. I think she could have just owned it and said, no, I did. And and worded something else to where once you're caught up in a lie, you can't just keep on lying yourself out. Like, Gabe has your number. I think you're done.
Well, Blue is going into the merge, and I think they previewed the merge, and I think it's going to be, you know, it'll be a merge, but then there'll be a vote off, and that person won't go on the jury, right? Now, since Blue's going in with numbers, there might be this focus on wanting to get one of the Blues out, and if Tiana is pointing that target on Gabe's back, and like I said, she didn't have to do it in front of everybody, she could have done it more discreetly, you know, maybe that is good, right? Because you look at Blue, and Kyle is on the outside of that too. But I don't know if I don't think Kyle's going to go against his alliance, and it's not really his alliance, but I mean, he might, maybe he'll wake up, maybe he'll get some screen time as soon as, you know, merge comes, because you don't hear anything from Kyle, soft-spoken guy. But yeah, I just think that's interesting. Earn the merge. Yeah. Earn the merge. So, you know, it's not a good move, but maybe painting this huge target and just saying it out there, and maybe you cause a confrontation with Gabe. Maybe that is the strategy, because he has this very kind of aggressive type of personality where if you maybe get him to overreact to things and be too much of a threat and hit the beach and inject that paranoia, well, maybe he goes all around and everybody, we need to get Tiana out, right? And so maybe you got to play on Gabe and his weakness, which is his kind of aggressiveness and his kind of disregard for people and their feelings. And I mean, when Tiana was telling him, he was like, yep, okay, sweating profusely, you know, steaming in anger. But maybe that's not, like I said, didn't play right. But yeah, it was interesting to see Caroline too. You know, I don't know if I've ever seen that. Like, hey, you need to go to Gabe. You need to come clean. I'm telling you, Gabe knows. He's gonna find out. So I thought that was kind of an interesting interaction where Caroline was, yeah.
Yeah, and Caroline is, I think, in a fantastic place. She kind of reminds me of the game that Erica played from season 41, just of this trying to be this middleman to keep the tribe as cohesive as possible, not trying to stir anything, ruffle anything, but kind of being like the nurse of trying to keep things as stable as possible. And that's exactly how Erica won her season. Screw the hourglass thing, forget about that. Right. But you know, she played the cards she had, and that's kind of what Caroline's doing. I think what also does it, it shows just how strong of a game that Sue is playing and keeping her emotions in check. No one has any clue that her number one guy is Gabe, or else people would not have just agreed to hearing out whatever it is that what's her name? Tiana, thank you. That Tiana was saying. She did not think for a second that Sue had any negativity towards what she shared. And that shows, I think, Sue's gameplay, or a lack of Tiana kind of seeing where everybody is.
Well, yeah, Caroline is like, Sue is my number one, and Sue's like, Gabe's my number one. So I always love that when somebody thinks that they're their number one and they're not, you know. So very good by Sue. But yeah, and you know, so the conclusion was Annika got voted off, right? Huge shocker. like devastated. I don't know if we've ever seen somebody so shocked and devastated and like, it was just crazy, her kind of reaction. And she didn't even see it coming, right? Total blindside. But that puts Rachel on the outside, right? Rachel is now totally free, and she seems to kind of migrate more towards the ladies and the women type of alliance. And we're going into the merge with more women. I guess you voted off Annika, so it's actually a little bit more even now. So I just thought that was interesting. And you could see, and is I think Rachel's one to kind of go along with Sam and Sierra. I think you kind of saw with Annika, maybe some of the reaction was like, because Sam and Sierra, they're kind of like the popular, the Ken and they said that the Ken and Barbie, right? And so you have kind of Rachel and Annika are a little bit more cerebral. You could call them like the nerd archetype, the popular kids voting off Annika. And then like the devastation was, I have less utility than Andy. I'm less trustworthy. I'm less useful. I'm less valuable to these people. And it is kind of a compliment because they see her as more of a threat and somebody who's going to flip, and Andy's a little bit more controllable. But in her mind, I think in that moment is thinking, Andy over me?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Well, and
right?
Is she our online dater, or is that Tiana?
Online dater.
Who was the one in their preview talking about basically comparing the game to like she does a lot of online dating and compared Andy to a toxic boyfriend? It was
Tiana. That was Annika. Annika.
So with Annika too, I think that she's not used to that rejection. She's not at all used to rejection from what I could see from that. And she, as we've seen at the beginning of this season, is that she's all about control. And so I agree with you. Not only did she lose the control she thought she had that was never there, but second, I think she wasn't mad she got voted out of the game as much as she was mad that she got voted out and not trusted above Andy.
Andy also played her. Andy actually played her because they were like, we're going to vote off Sam. He's like, okay.
Do you think they played that too much? Like, I don't think they see... From the looks of it, I couldn't tell if the video team was trying to, or the editing team was trying to say like how great of a move Andy was actually playing, or is that just them kind of poking fun to make them think that he's playing this awesome game, but yet really...
I don't think he's playing an awesome game, but I think, Andy, he's made people so uncomfortable with his presence. It's really hard to read him now because they just want to get out of the conversation with them. So he's like, I'm on the bottom, and all this insecurity kind of coming from him. They don't really kind of sense that it's actually not true insecurity. He's actually is kind of putting on a face. But I just thought it was so funny. And total Andy, like this is the guy, like I kind of like him. But Anna gets voted off. She's devastated. She turns around and Andy gives the most sincere, like good game, see you later. He just gives this little wave and like this total innocence on his face of like aren't you okay with it? Like it's just a game, right? Yeah, I just thought it was kind of cute. Andy's funny.
I look at it just like he was, he sure wasn't trying, and he wanted everybody, like he was like, I created that whole thing. I was in control. I started that conversation. Right. And it was just like, it was adorable, but I can't take it seriously. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you tried. Good boy. Nice job. Yes. You're doing such a great job. I'm so proud of you. It's kind of how I felt. And like, I'm not.
Well, it was kind of high schooly where you have like kind of Sam is kind of this jock, and then Andy's like, yeah, I'm friends with Sam, and me and Sam, and let's vote off this girl. And so I was just like, and in like that Rachel, they couldn't see that. There's two guys on the tribe. Well, Sam and them are obviously going to team up, and then Sierra. I mean, the fact that they didn't see that is a huge error on their part. They should have been able to see that, but I think it was because of how maybe good Sierra is a player. They really thought that the breadwinners, right, were really maybe together, and that's where. So maybe all credit should be going to Sierra in this situation for making her feel so comfortable. And I do think Rachel's going to be one to just say like, okay, I'm still with you guys. Like, I have no other options, no other choices here going into the merge with nothing, right? Nothing. Right. So Andy is a 3-year-old son going, I did it when the automatic minivan. Oh, hey,
yes,
that's funny.
Brennan, you nailed it.
Yeah. That's very funny.
Yeah. Yes. That Brennan, yes, that is exactly what it is. And actually, it's my 10-year-old doing it because they don't grow out of that stupid thing. With all that said, I think not only did I see the Grinch grin on Andy's face leaving, and they must be telling these contestants, look at the camera with your best Jim faces from The Office you can, because Teeny got it last week. Genevieve had a good one this week. So did Andy walking out. But I think the biggest tell, and I wonder how this is going to play into Rachel's strategy, is whenever whenever Annika turned and asked who did this, who's responsible, so there was 3 different responses to that. Andy said it was the 3 of us together. Sam admitted it, put his hand up in the air and said he did it, and Sierra was just laying low because the guilt was on top of her. So I'm curious what Rachel is going to do with those reactions and which one was the best. What do you guys think of those 3? Which reaction, not who did it, I don't care who did it, but the reaction, your reality, what is Rachel going to do with those 3 reactions, or does she do anything with them? What would you do with them?
It'll be interesting to see how Sierra mends the bridge with Rachel. I mean, she might say, listen, these guys are together. They're together. I'm with you. You're really my number one. But she left her out of the vote. So how can she say that? And Rachel is going to assume, well, now these 2 popular kids and I'm on the outside. And so I got to mix it up. And maybe she goes with Caroline and Sue and adds to Blue. And that's more of a powerful alliance. Yeah, it was interesting that Sam, who is it? Sam shot his hand up. Maybe that is to try to protect Sierra because he is her protector. No, I'm just joking. They're just like boyfriend and girlfriend. No, I'm just joking. It was interesting. And I thought it was really funny when Annika turns around for the last time and Andy gives his little wave and Sam even waves. She goes, oh, hell no. Like she's like,
nah.
She's like, nah. He's like, nah, that's messed up. Like, she's like, I'm done with Survivor. That was really funny. So
I have to agree with what Brennan's saying here. I think Sierra is the only one that can bring Rachel back in. I think that, I think she can rationally talk to Rachel and just say, Annika we have to get rid of these big targets, these strategic people, and we'll make it like she is just this huge target. And she's actually was doing Rachel a favor by getting rid of her and helping not only Sierra's game, but Rachel's game by doing that. And that she wished that they hadn't kept her out of the vote. But I think that bridge will mend. I think she'll be able to. Andy's not going to do it for sure. Or Andy will try and think he's done it and it won't really be a thing. And Sam just won't have any interest in it because he sees their numbers as we don't really need Rachel to bring Rachel back in. It's whatever. So yeah, I think that Sierra will bridge the gap with Rachel and they might even do it. They're going to need their numbers on this merge. As soon as they say merge, drop your buffs, man, you're going to have to really pull tight on who you have in your core, because now you're merging and you've got to start thinking we need as many numbers as possible. So Sam might be like, sorry, man, it's all we could do. We'd rather bring someone in like Andy is going to follow us along and do what we want than Annika, who's got a strong mind and will, could end up hurting us in the long run and hurting you, Rachel. So,
yeah.
I wonder how much more damage control Sam could have done with his idol, knowing that Annika, did they know Annika didn't have a vote? Was that known by everybody, or was that okay? So I wonder if Sierra had strong enough relationship with Rachel, and maybe that they're like, okay, of course Sam and Sierra is together. So maybe she's trying to just try to say one last time that Sierra and Sam are not as close as they are. This made it way too obvious, and now you've lied to Rachel. So I just wonder if Sierra could have said to Rachel, hey, by the way, like, it's going to be you tonight. He's playing this idol for whomever, and then maybe Rachel would change her vote, but that wouldn't matter because Annika doesn't have a vote. So I think there could have been a little more damage control that Sam and Sierra could have done, since they were in possession of an idol and since they understood that Annika didn't have a vote to begin with.
That's a good point. She just says, listen, it would have been a tie. The two boys were voting together. We were voting together. it was what it was. I wanted to maintain my alliance with Sam and with Andy. You know, that's how the votes were. She lost her vote. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can't. I was on the side of the numbers, and telling you wasn't going to make a difference. And so I saved you from betraying Annika, and I saved you. You know, and this was going to happen. Now it's going to happen. And yeah, maybe Sam does go and shows her the idol that he didn't use, and say, if she didn't agree, I was going to use this against her. You know, and maybe he kind of positions. I mean, so there's a way that they could mend it. And then, like I said, I don't think Rachel is dynamic enough to unless she goes with Caroline, because I could see them really getting along.
They're either picking out Rachel to the player she really is, or heavily underestimating her. I think it's the first. I don't think that she has a strong strategic game available. I don't think she's going to win this thing this year. And so I was thinking about the idol thing too. You know, there also is that thing that, you know, Andy has no clue that Sam has this idol. So of course Sam probably wouldn't play this thing now I think about it, because, hey, like, wait, you have an idol? Like the idol I was looking for, you've known you've had it, and then they're going to cause a huge distrust with Andy and Sam. So I recant my statement. But I do think there could have been a little bit more damage control with
you got to remember how Sam found that idol, right? right. Like that whole situation. Then he finds the idol that Andy was hiding. Yeah.
So I want Andy on my tribe.
You know, the thing of it is Sam holds that idol because you never know when that'll come into play. People are always making fake idols. Well, you have a real idol, may not be valid anymore, but nobody really knows that. You can say, hey, I've got an idol. You can't vote me out. I'm going to play my idol tonight. That always is a great game to play. And you can physically show them an idol that is an idol. So it's not even a stick with a face on it. So you know what I mean? Like, it's really the thing. So I think Sam did the right thing. Hold the idol. You never know when a fake idol will come into handy later on down the road, and you really need to, you know, you need to keep that. I would keep it.
Yeah, we got to remember.
I mean, there was no reason to play it, so.
Right. You got to remember that Sue has an idol too, and so that's Blue going into the merge with numbers, even though they're fractured. You know, going in with numbers and an idol makes the Caroline, Gabe, Sue alliance pretty powerful, pretty solid 3. And then there's these, you know, these hidden, these amulet idols that Andy, that Caroline. So Blue actually has 2 advantages. So they just need to get off Tiny or get off, you know, maybe they do. Maybe there is a concerted effort to get Andy out. But I wanted to say this about Kyle. I mean, you saw Kyle again in another challenge. Is Kyle going to be the challenge beast? I mean, he's kind of got some, you know, competition maybe for some other people, but I mean, he seems like, we talk about the dexterity, the balance, the you know, he kind of seems like a Southern guy, kind of looks like a Southern guy, but he's not. He's from like Northern Michigan. You know what I mean? So he's not really like, but he just seems to have that kind of craftiness and that scrappiness. I don't know if he's the best at puzzles, but I don't know. Do you guys think that Kyle could become a challenge beast when it comes down to individual immunity? I think how it always goes in Survivor in this kind of new era of the American, there's always this sort of physical challenge. It's not usually excruciating or requiring Rupert-like strength or, you know, Jonathan-like strength, but there is some sort of physical component. And then it usually ends with a puzzle, right? So I think he could probably do really well because he's lengthy, he can get over things, he can swim to some degree. But then when it comes to the puzzle, I think he'll probably end up struggling. But what do you guys think? Any challenge beast on the horizon?
I think Kyle has a really good opportunity. Now, here's the thing, you know, as we go into the merge, we're looking at individual immunity challenges. When I think of individual immunity challenges, the ones I think that he'll do really well on, like when you have to hold on to the pole for as long as you can. Right. I don't know what that is. He's got those long legs, but he doesn't have that big, beefy Jonathan weight, right? Mm-hmm. That burly guy. So he doesn't have to hold all that weight up. He's a slim guy with long legs. So he can really take advantage of being able to wrap himself around it and hold his weight up for a long period of time. I'm hoping that's what that indicates to me. But then you look at some of these finer things that they have to do where it's like you have to stack stuff with your feet. That's where long, skinny legs are not going to help you because it's going to be a lot harder for you to maneuver picking up a block with your toes, you know, and then placing it and stacking it, you know, and things like that. So I don't know. I think on some of those, he's going to really excel. And I think there's going to be others that just aren't things that he can do very well, which is a great which actually makes him less of a threat because he'll only be able to do some of the stuff. So it won't be like if he didn't win this week, if we don't get him out, we may not have a chance again. That little mind game that gets played won't come into effect with Kyle as much, because he could win some of them, but probably not all of them.
He's a construction
Survivor has done a great job to make sure that their challenges they do anymore after the merge are pretty balanced. And I think with the players that they have there this season, I could see, like, if it's a balance challenge, will he do great? Yes, but I think that 2 or 3 others will do great. Will there be an endurance challenge that he'll do great at? Yes, but I think there'll be 2 or 3 others that will do great at that. Puzzle, 2 or 3 others. So I think this season it's really balanced as far as giving somebody who has an edge over everything, somebody else that they're going to be competing with to make sure they win this. I think he has a great chance to win a lot of things, though.
I do think, Hunter of the season. Yeah, Hunter was a total student of the game. You know, he built the puzzles. I mean, he had a very kind of foolish kind of, but I don't know. I don't know if you can compare Kyle to Hunter just because he's so, Hunter was like, life, Survivor is life, for him. And Kyle, I don't know if he's really about that life.
I do have a dark horse, though, that I think might be a challenge beast. And not on all of them again, because we have that when we talk about size and being able to do things. So hanging on a pole will probably not be her forte, but I could be wrong. But I think, and I noticed it last night when she sat out of a challenge. I was surprised by that, because I think she prides herself on being tough and strong at her age. But I think Sue is going to now come in at merge and start showing up. I think we're going to see a lot more of what she's capable of. And I don't think people see her as any kind of a physical threat at this point, but she could be.
Yeah. Well, she got a couple of immunities in a row. People are like, oh, great. Like, that's really cool. Like, good job, you. Right. But then she actually is this challenge beast and goes on this run and has a hidden immunity idol and has this really strong relationship in Gabe. So she could, 40, and she's 40, right? And doing this all at 45. Yeah. And, so I'm actually looking at Gabe and I'm like, dang, this guy's pulling it off. I mean, this guy, as much as we may, he treats people and, he hasn't, how he treated Kyle, and Kyle's the most likable guy out there. So if you mistreat Kyle, you're not making any, friends on the show. Like, no one's like rooting for Gabe, and he's positioning himself as the villain. But he's going into the merge with numbers. He's going in with Sue, who has an idol, who is good at challenges. I don't think Gabe's going to be particularly good at challenges, but he's got that dog. So he might pull out some puzzles and he might pull out some wins, and you could really see Blue. And then if Kyle gets these immunities, I mean, Kyle's really strong, Gabe's strong, Sue's strong. They're going in with numbers. Yeah, so Blue's looking pretty good. And all the other tribes, they have these fractures. Rome is on the outside. Rachel is on the outside. They're going to be looking to Blue, either to Tiana or to the majority alliance of Caroline and Sue, and they don't know how close Gabe is with them. So they'll think, oh, well, I'll align with Caroline and Sue, and that's good. But they don't realize Sue has this kind of master plan in the background. And we might see a Sue win because Gabe's going to be thinking the entire time, oh, well, I'm the mastermind of this. I'm the mastermind of this. I'm the mastermind of this. But Sue is the face of it, which is a much more public and respectable position than being behind, her, right? And then she has the idol and she has the relationship with Caroline, who thinks she's the number one.
I think Gabe and Sue are getting a winner's edit right now from the very beginning, and that is when Gabe basically said, hey, I'm looking for my person. Kind of what Russell did with Valerie seasons ago, where I'm not saying they're the same person, but I'm saying that early on, you learned about who Russell is going to take to the end. I think Sue is definitely a 10 times better player than what's her face was. Go ahead.
Well, even Maria and Charlie, older woman, younger guy. Right?
You knew this early. You needed to know this early in order to figure out, okay, that this was part of their loyal game with each other. They may have been conniving to a lot of other people, and that's true. And I think also what they did was not only kind of foreshadow this winner's edit. I'm not calling it right now, but I do think that the editors were suggesting that, hey, watch this, Tiana's going home next, because I think it would be smart for Blue to dim the numbers down to even amongst everybody on this merge vote, to have a little bit more loyalty with everybody else, so that they don't become this powerhouse that everybody knows crumbles by the end of, you know, a couple days in. You never see that Supreme tribe very often, you know, have a winner, because they're two on top and the other two tribes see that. And I think the perfect go home play would be Tiana next week for sure, for a lot of different players.
Right. You don't want red and yellow to solidify and to team up and to, yeah. So Brennan says Sue's going to get pissed when she sees that Gabe called her a wounded bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. She ain't going to like that at all. Her
She's
and Gabe
not
are
going to like
be
it,
friends
but
after this.
I think this will be Sue's take on it. Man, did he underestimate me.
True.
Because I think if you have that in your head, she is a wounded bird. Oh, I'm going to have to be that, like, carry her and help her through, and she'll be like loyal to me and da 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 da. And Sue is
Survivor
not.
loves
She is
that storyline.
and Sue is one strong person.
They love making the winner seem very weak early on. Yep.
I would love for Sue to find, maybe Sue gets along well with Genevieve. Like we said this, maybe there's a vibe there because Genevieve can kind of play second fiddle, right? And have Sue and maybe give her that. And then I would love to see Sue blindside Gabe completely. That would be so awesome. And then for him, oh my God, my baby bird just killed me. That would be really, really cool. But yeah, I'm super excited because you're going to see this huge confrontation between, you know, Sam and Gabe and, you know, the Majority Alliance. And yeah, I just really love how Genevieve is playing because she's constantly kind of going in and then going back out and going in. And I think she said that she wanted to align with Caroline, if I'm remembering it right, that she felt that there was going to be an in with Caroline. But that's kind of maybe a bad judgment on her part because she doesn't realize how, maybe she's super perceptive and can see that Sue and Caroline aren't together, but you have these two ladies on a tribe, you know, and Tiana is obviously outside of that. So that's going to be kind of a hard thing for Genevieve to kind of feel out, is like Sue and Caroline's relationship and how loyal that is. Cause I don't think Sue has any alliance or any loyalty to Caroline at all. Right. She sees her as a wounded baby. No, just joking.
Yeah. But I see, you know, when you talk about Genevieve and Teeny coming in with Caroline and Rachel, I think that does make a lot of sense with those ladies together. I think that could be a good group. Now, how Sue fits into that, I don't know. I think everyone's going to think that Sue is this wounded bird. I think they're all going to underestimate her. And I think she's definitely seeing that and playing. I think she's playing a really smart game. I could be wrong, but she held her tongue. Sue really watched what she said when Tiana was throwing Gabe under the bus, and she sat there and she just took it all in, and she didn't react. She didn't say anything. And I think that's going to, I think she's playing a really smart game right now.
Mm-hmm. Big recovery from last week when she's covered in the fake blood, you know, and like fumbling over herself and stuff. The one thing I think about Sue, though, she kind of has a temper. And so when things don't go her way, she comes off a little bit aggressive to people and is a little bit like too. And so I don't know if things start not going her way. You know, she has that idol in her back pocket, which she can play, but I don't know if she's going to play it correctly. But I think if things start to maybe not go her way, she might expose herself a little bit too much. But then she has Gabe as the shield. So then maybe Gabe comes in, is able to kind of mend, you know, and bring consensus. And so they might be kind of a good dynamic there because Gabe we haven't really seen him play because he hasn't had to play at all, really. I mean, he played once to get TK out, but that was about it.
But even though Sue is more aligned with Gabe, I don't think it's going to be Gabe that's going to be the one that, you know, on Blacklist, there was that lady that cleaned up the murder scene or whatever for, have you guys seen it? Oh, Blacklist is so good. But there was a person that cleaned up everything. I don't think the cleaner is Gabe. I think it's Caroline. I think Sue knows that. And I can see Caroline kind of coming in and kind of playing the cleaner upper. And that gives Caroline a storyline at the very end of this game. So I would love to see a Gabe, Sue, Caroline 3 at the end, because all three of them played a different part in organizing all these different things. It's pretty early. That would be a cool storyline, those three.
Yeah, Caroline being kind of the linchpin to, you know, opening the game up. You know, so we got to kind of game plan is Rachel, Caroline, Genevieve, Teeny, you know, that's 4. Tiana, bring that in, that's 5. You know, Tiana's out there. I feel like Genevieve could definitely bridge the gap with Tiana, right? And kind of form a little relationship there. I don't know if they've had an opportunity to talk at all, but I think that they could definitely get along. And yeah, Tiana's obviously a free agent come the merge. Doesn't want to work with Gabe at all.
I don't think
maybe she does. I mean,
and Sierra get along though. I don't know if those two can
I don't think
even work in the same. They're not sharing a playground.
No, I think the Sierra and Sam thing, that whole perception is really going to hurt them.
Pretty cemented right now.
Merge, yeah.
Yeah,
and they're going in with no advantages. I mean, Andy has the other half of the amulet. So yeah, I totally agree. They're going to come in. Maybe they'll be the first to get off because you've seen that when they go to the merge, and then there's this focus on the super tight couples, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And are there any other perceived super tight couples? You know, they don't even know that Gabe and Sue, you know, that's probably the tightest outside of them. I can't think of anybody else. So
one thing I truly have appreciated this season more than the other ones is the fact that first, all the tribes, there's no like terrible, awful tribe that we thought there was going to be with Gata, but there's no like superior tribe really with these 3 tribes. But the second part is the casting of putting Gabe, Rome, and and Andy all on 3 different tribes. Like, I can't wait for those 3 to start mingling together and figuring out that crazy. For those 3, who would you guys hope that you are put on a tribe with if you're on that island? Gabe, Rome, or Andy, given their 3 kind of more risky, kind of outside the box gaming. Which one of those 3 would you want definitely on your tribe, and which one would you not want at all?
I would probably want Rome because he seems like the easiest to kind of isolate. There's this kind of there's this kind of like, but he puts his foot in his mouth so much. He tells every single person like they're not going to talk to each other a different thing, and it was so easy for Genevieve just to be like, oh really? Because he told me something completely different. And now Saul and her are like back, right? And even though she was against him, you know, and so I think Rome is probably the easiest to vote off and maybe the easiest to get his loyalty, right? But once he burns you like Genevieve, then it's, you know, and so I feel like Andy, he's that goat, you take him, he's loyal. And if he's not loyal to you, he's going to be super loyal to somebody else. And so that's not good because that's 2 numbers there. And then the other one was Gabe. Yeah, Gabe is too individual, right? He's too much of his own individual player, and he's, you know, I don't think I could, you know, kind of work with Gabe, honestly. I don't think, I'd be one of his perceived limo drivers.
Yeah, I would take Rome as well because, you know, he's flashy, he's obnoxious, he's got a lot going on. He is the distraction that everyone wants to keep things. But, you know, I think the biggest thing too with Rome is I think he's going to start being that one that like people just can't wait to get rid of because of his behavior. I think when you're on a small tribe, you're forced to work with somebody. And I think when you have a merged tribe, now because you see how quickly he changes. I hate Saul. I love Saul. I hate this person. I love this person. You know, he's like, nah, nah, and then he's like, blah, 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 blah. He's very talkative, dumps everything on Saul, just gives Saul all the information, whether it's true or not, but he's just like, well, blabbermouth about things. I don't think he's beneficial to anyone's game except for an easy out. So I feel like Rome is going to go in there at merge and really, really ruffle feathers. I think he's going to be annoying. And there is something to be said about being around someone that's so annoying and just is so chaotic a bit with their game plan. I think his game changes every single day. I don't think he's like, oh, this is what I'm going to keep doing. Genevieve, she's like, I know my path forward. I'm going to build this relationship. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to move this way. I know this is my next move. I'm Wayne Gretzky. I see 4 moves ahead. I'm already playing the game the way I should be playing it. And Rome is like, okay, what's going on? Okay, I'm going to do this. And then he's like,
could be too much of a threat where it's so easy to put so many votes on Rome that gives an opportunity to vote off somebody who's a little bit more discreet. You know, is it a Q situation where everybody hates Q, and so we have to keep him?
Yeah. I'm just excited to see when Andy, because I don't think any of these three are winning. That's Rome, Gabe, and especially if Sue's around. I think that Sue's going to steal it from Gabe too. I like that assessment. And Andy, I'm really excited to see how those three go home and what kind of havoc the three of them come up with. I definitely don't think they can team up together. That Rome could not team up with that. Andy would think that might be kind of fun though. That might be fun.
I mean, it'd be very perceptive of Gabe, you know, to try to align with some of these loose ends, some of these crazier people. I mean, let's see how Gabe's gameplay is. I'd be curious to see who does he want to align with come merge. And it might be these people. It might be Rome. It might be, I don't know, Saul. I don't think though Saul, it's a respect thing. And I don't think Gabe, but Gabe, he is, you know, you kind of saw it a little bit with the Tiana. But, you know, maybe he tries, but I don't think so. I feel like Saul is still tight with Genevieve. I feel like Saul would divulge it to Genevieve. And just even him, you know, when he was sitting on the beach and Genevieve walks up, first thing he says, "So you're voting me off?" Just like, is that really how you want to start the conversation? Can't you like maybe question her? How are you feeling in the game?
Yeah.
Right. Or like, how did last night actually happen? You know,
the guy who forced himself and was this world's most awful babysitter just like 2 days ago, and now you've confided in him and believe every single word he says. Right. That does not show a lot of good game, you know, prowess on Soul's part. I like Soul, but this does not show it. So, you know, we haven't shown the fact that Todd Herzog has lost his first player yet. So let's get that on the screen here.
Oh yeah. If I can do what I'm supposed to be doing, which is doing overlays like I'm supposed to. There we go.
There you go.
Yes, he lost his first player. We have only one perfect team left, Mr. Alex. That would be your team. But my team is still holding tight. We got Caroline. We're going to be okay.
Can you call it a team when it's one person?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. I am. Yep.
There's no I in team, but there's a me in Rome.
I mean, you know, for Teeny making such a bad decision, she is really lowering her threat level, you know, as far as being, maybe her strategy was to be seen as a horrible game player, which actually it was, because she was trying to say, I'm on the bottom, right? Remember, Alex wanted to remove I only wanted to remove Andy, in my defense. I only wanted to remove Andy and maybe Tiana, but yeah, I only wanted to remove Andy. I still was with Genevieve because she didn't even get to talk. Well, now I saw her talk, and I'm like, okay, I made the right decision. But yes.
Backpedaling.
So yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Teeny is actually in a better spot than going into this merge. I think she's a free agent. She could use some of her ties with Genevieve and people to be like, hey, you know, really don't want to have Rome or Saul. Wouldn't you rather be in this tight? Because Rome's proven that he can't be trustworthy. I have to agree with Brennan on some of this. Saul isn't playing Survivor as well as Survivor is playing him. He is aware though. So, I mean, I just think, and then it just makes sense to kind of, I want to see that do more with what they have. And I think moving away from Rome and Saul, I think Rome is just going to be so distracting to so many people that you can do a lot of plays without him. Like, keep him around, but don't, like, he's not integral. He's not the inside circle.
Teeny has this, and she said this when she's like, I'm a little boy or something along those lines. She has this very youthful kind of image, you know. She's kind of like when you're having an adult conversation and the kid's kind of there listening, but you're not really kind of taking it into an account, and like they're hearing things, but you're not really, it's not a threat, so her threat level is super low. And so that's why I think she could be a fly on a wall to a lot of these conversations and be that person in between. I do hope that she stays with Red, because I do think it is her best position, and even working with Rome. And with Rome, he does. I mean, you saw with the Genevieve vote, he is kind of fiercely loyal, and he said he wanted to come in this game and be with the tribe and have that loyalty. I don't think it's working out that way at all, and I don't really think that he maybe is even loyal to Genevieve, right? But I think push comes to shove, he'll probably go back to the Red Alliance, and you could see that 4 kind of push forward because of Saul's lack of being able to kind of bridge outside of that. Rome's general dislike among everybody else, Genevieve being kind of the glue to kind of keep Teeny in. And she was to say, I can work with Teeny way better than I can work with Saul long term. So,
yeah, I think, you know, assessment right now for Bree's team, I think your best player is Caroline right now. Obviously, I think that she has a lot of, I really think that she's
Thanks for that.
I think she's going to play a massive part in keeping Sue and Gabe thinking, like, you know, playing that vacuum cleaner, cleaning up the mess type role. And I think that's her ticket to win this thing if it's her. Moving on to see my team next. I think Sierra and Sam are in trouble. One of them is, of course, getting voted out in the next 2 or 3 rounds, and the other one I think will probably stay on a little bit longer, but won't be able to play much of a game because I think they'll have to be a number for some other group once the one's taken care of. Maybe Sierra turns on Sam because, you know, she can't get away from this vibe thing. That's going to be interesting to see. When it comes to Gabe, I think we've spoken well of him, that he may have a strong number 2 game being played right now. And then I've agreed with everything you guys have said about Teeny. Is, you know, she is in a very great place and knows how to talk to anybody and everybody that's on this island. Anybody want to talk about those 2 teams first, and we go on to Perfect Alex and Todd?
Well, I think Caroline, I think you're right about that. Caroline does have a lot of I could even see her working together with Sierra and Sam, you know, and her and Sierra almost getting along because she's kind of more passive and Sierra's a little bit more assertive. And then you have Sam. And so that creates some numbers there. I just think that Sue has her so hoodwinked as far as that alliance goes that she'll divulge everything to Sue. And then Sue will be just a step ahead of Caroline and things will happen.
Which is why I think Bree will have somebody in this contest for a long time. I don't see Caroline going home for a while.
Brennan wants to take Sam and Saul. You can have them, Brennan. They're yours. I'll redo my thing tomorrow and make sure I get that put on there. Hey, here's the thing that I see when I look at this draft. I see a possible winner on every one of our boards still. I think that's pretty cool, right? I think that there's I, of course, only have one, so obviously Caroline, but I think Caroline could totally win it if she plays it right. I think she's still in contention. You know, I think Teeny and even Sierra are still in contention. Don't know about Gabe. He's kind of iffy. Genevieve, 100%, but I think Sue as well. I don't want to count Sue out right now. And then I do like Rachel and Kyle. I think that they are the players that don't get, they're not a threat to anyone. Rachel was left out. So what, you know, but she's not showing herself as a threat in any way. And Kyle's just a likable guy, but not so overly like I'm trying to be friends with everyone kind of likable. He's just Kyle and he's just a good dude. And I think that can get you very far in this game. So I really honestly think, and I think Saul over Sam. If I'm going to play with you, get your guys on there. I think Saul over Sam. I think Sam is going to dig himself a hole that he can't get out of. So,
I don't know. I see a way that Sam could win it. I don't see a way. I think Kyle would win like a Gabler vote where he's nice. They like him. He's giving all the money to the veterans. Maybe he gives a bunch of money to the, you know, he grew up and he was in the foster care system, right? So he's got this great story, right? And he's super likable, but he doesn't have a game like Kenzie, right? Where she really won it through the interpersonal connections and really making those friends. That's not how Kyle's going to win. He's going to win maybe because the people he's with are so unlikable, or they just really didn't respect their game or something like that. I can't see a way that Rachel wins. I mean, unless she pulls out some big moves. And then Rome, I think he's too unlikable. I don't think so. I think, sorry to throw you under the bus. I don't know if anybody on the Todd team, but we're looking good, guys. I do think there is a way. I don't think Tiana could win unless a lot of things start going her way. But I do agree that, Caroline and Sierra and Gay, I mean, there's a pathway for a lot of people. So, but.
Yeah, I think that Kyle's playing a great third place game. Unfortunately, right. I don't think he has any kind of showing to what he does unless he goes on a immunity streak. But I don't think that's awarded very often anymore, no matter how many you win. So I think Kyle's playing probably the best third place game one can play in Survivor at this time.
We can't overlook Saul in immunity either. He's kind of built like a Lego person. He's very stocky. He's like super fit. He's very slim, but he's very square. But he's smart, smart guy in medical sales. I think he had his background as a surgeon. He's athletic. He's really good at swimming. So there is an opportunity. I don't know if he'll do good in like the hanging challenge. I mean, he is, 42. I think he's like fit though. I think he's like Sue, where it's like the age. Maybe he got fitter over time. You see that a lot where people actually get, they're actually in better shape when they're 40 than they are when they're 20, right? I think hopefully for me, God help me, right? No, I'm joking.
Right. Well, we have two pieces of business we have to handle before we close out the show, and let's get into this. Okay, I want to talk about this because we saw a negotiation with Jeff this week, and we got 18. Dude, I was surprised at how many eggs they got. 18.
Lenient, Jeff. Softy.
You're such a softy, Jeff. We were really disappointed. I wasn't crazy about it, but then we get eggs and we don't have Flint, so we can't eat them. I thought this was tremendous and funny and ironic and brought a little bit of entertainment to this week. What are they doing with those eggs? I mean, can we just make a smoothie?
Can I say that
smoothie?
I don't think it's the fact that they don't want to kill the chickens. I think they asked Andy to try to kill chickens, and he was holding the knife the wrong way. And thing when
they're like he's sawing it on the wrong side of the blade.
A chicken, and the chicken's like, "What are you doing, pal?" I think they tried to kill him, and he just didn't have the right end.
He didn't have it. That's awesome. Oh man, yeah, getting all those eggs and then you have no fire, that really sucks. But hey, you can always eat. You can still eat the eggs. I mean, you're not going to let them go to waste.
One of the few negotiations that actually turned out positively in some respect, right?
Yeah, 18 eggs. I was really surprised he went with 18. That was a soft moment of Jeff. All right, we have one more piece of business that we have to get to. I recently was on Facebook and reading through my messages, and I got an invite from a person that we all know.
Who?
Brandon. What do we got going, and what's happening with your search to be an actual winning podcaster on Survivor?
So, and here's the thing. I've been trying to send it to Alex. I don't know why I can't send these things to Alex, but I had a dream like a night ago, and this is probably coming from watching old audition tapes because Amber, now Mariano, in her audition tape, she was talking about how Jeff was in her dream, and Jeff said, "You're going to win Survivor," different things like that. So I had a dream very much like Amber Mariano, the winners of Survivor All-Star, the Amber. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what the dream says. So I made a little Facebook post that says future Survivor player. Now that's false. I'm not yet one. That'd be awesome. And I know that Bree, Alex, I think you guys are both also wanting to be on the show too, right?
On the fence. On the fence.
On the fence.
Okay. If I did personally by Jeff, then yes.
Jeff was not in my dream, to be fair. Jeff was not there, but it was this just weird dream that said, hey, like, this is like the process you should try this time to get on the show. And so for whatever reason in my dream, it said, create this Facebook post that says, hey, future player. Cause I also think it was Dee who on social media, like, really made it sound like she was going to be on there, and they picked her based on her social media posts. So Here's hoping. I'm 40. Like I'm at the
you
the
see this a
bookend of
lot,
music.
like on MasterChef. They have all these social media influencers now. Now there's like a category of people because they kind of bring the social media following, this new angle. They used to
Yep.
bring on like the football player or the the movie star, right? The
Yep.
TV show. It was that lady, and so now it's like the social media influencer. So yeah, we'll have you take the TikTok course, Brandon, and we'll get you. There you go. Look at that.
There we go. We're ready. We're ready.
at
We're
that guy.
excited.
He
He
can
is
do
ready
it.
to be. I know, right? There we go.
Oh man.
I think you could do very well, Brandon. I think you could. I think you could do well, honestly.
Well,
Would
let's go.
Herzog draft you on his team? I don't know.
We would draft you, Brandon. We would fight for you. We'd say, I want Brandon on my team.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'm sure it sounds something like this. And for my 5th round pick, who's left? So that's what I imagine you guys saying is a nice 5th round draft pick for these fantasy players. But oh my gosh, how great would that be? That'd be so much fun. And I
That'd
could
be
come
super
on this
fun.
podcast, and this is the podcast I would choose, by the way.
There we go. That's what I like. 'Cause
you.
we have fun over here. We do. We have a great time. We
He
have
He
that
starts his own
You're
podcast.
You're wrong.
Hi guys, I'm starting my
70%
own
of the time.
podcast.
Where else can you go listen to a Survivor podcast and hear people be wrong 70% of the time and not care? We are the Andy of podcasters, the Banu of Survivor shows. We love it. We're here because of the hearts. We love having you guys on here with us. Vote Brandon, get him into Survivor. Jeff, if you're listening, which I know you are, this is the guy you want to pick. We love it. We'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.